Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Digital Summit interview series. This is a series where we're catching up with all of our speakers, sponsors, and attendees who are friends of Digital Summit, who are speaking at Digital Summit this year, who just really like the brand. So we really like to talk about what's coming up this year to get you all excited, but more so we like to talk about what's going on in marketing because there's just so much going on. Plenty to talk about. I am thrilled today to be joined by Kate Loffio. She is a social media and influencer marketing manager at Stuffed Puffs Filled Marshmallows, which if you haven't tried, please go do because they are some of the most delicious things I've ever seen. And just go follow you guys on social media because your videos are just like, oh, amazing. So thank you so much, Kate, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So Kate's going to be joining us in Orlando, and we'll jump into that in a little bit. But since Kate, you work directly with social media and influencers, I wanted to talk about something that is so topical. And I think a lot of marketers are kind of wondering what the heck happened. So the huge viral moment that was Snoop Dogg and Solo Stove.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, this is great. What a great activation. You know, I think even marketers from across the space were like, this is one of the coolest activations I've seen. But what we've seen over the last couple news cycles is that it didn't drive the sales that they wanted. You know, there's been talk about mismatching the audience with that particular influencer partnership. So, with all of that kind of context in mind, that particular situation, what's your take on like that partnership and what happened, and any advice that you would have for marketers who are or find themselves in a similar predicament where you've got this great idea and maybe you get that viral moment that everybody wants, but then it doesn't actually drive the ROI that you were looking for?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at this as a failure, but I really don't think so. Launching a high-level celebrity campaign like 3 weeks before Christmas, when most people have already made their, big ticket decisions, was definitely risky. Um, I don't think it paid off in the way they wanted. But like I said, I don't think it was a failure. They saw significant follower growth. They saw increased engagement, and it brought new people into their funnel. So, I think look, executives expect one thing, marketers understand you're going to get another. Marketing campaigns are slow burn. They aren't
Mm-hmm.
going to immediately turn sales. It takes time. And I think if that's what executive leadership expected, then like to drive a lot of sales that quickly, shame on them. Like trust your marketing folks, listen to them. They had a fantastic spokesperson with Snoop for that really cool idea, but it's something that it's going to take time. So I think in the long run, this could really pay off for them. If they engage this new audience in an authentic and meaningful way, they can build new brand loyalists and a loyal community that can pay off big for them. I think, you don't just drop a campaign because it wasn't immediately successful. So, I see it a little differently than everybody else does because I'm a big fan of good content. And I think that was interesting and good content, just maybe positioned the wrong way. And they maybe had the wrong ROI in mind. Just my thoughts there.
No, I think that's great because there was so much criticism after the fact from the marketing community and beyond that just because they didn't get that ROI, it was a failure. And I love that piece
Yeah.
of insight from you that there's so much more that goes into that organic brand building through these partnerships, through these ongoing things that aren't necessarily gonna hit that revenue target right away. And in some ways, it's our job as marketers to set those expectations ahead of time. But then sometimes if these partnerships have a huge cost associated with them, they're like, all right, well, we want to see the return right away. But I love that perspective. I think it's so important. And it actually leads perfectly into what you're going to be talking about in Orlando, February 26th and
Yeah.
27th. The name of your session is How to Use Influencers in UGC to Step Up Your Organic Content Game. So tell us a little bit about your session, just high level, and a little bit of a sneak peek.
Sure. Yeah. I definitely am not, one of those folks who's a big fan of those high level, expensive celebrity partnerships, again, because they don't immediately turn what you think you're going to get. So I'm really a huge fan of how like you can work with, micro nano influencers to curate and create content that's more authentic to what your audience is looking for. It's relatable to that consumer. And so you find fans and followers who can become those content partners for you. And then you build a library of content that can be used, beyond the social platforms, emails and PDP pages and all sorts of things beyond that. And, I think the big surprise here that I'm going to reveal in Orlando is that it does not have to cost you an arm and a leg. So if you want to learn more, join me in Orlando, and I'll help you find your way through that.
I love that. So yeah, exactly about that. So how, in a kind of high level way, how do you address that issue with your team, with your superiors about that just not having budget? So like when you're going about the influence or finding the influencers that you're working with, are you finding them organically as a way to sort of avoid that sort of budget impact? Because I know some people use influencer bureaus, like we use speaker bureaus in the event business.
Sure.
So how do you go about that process and then kind of measure it against what you've got set out for a budget?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple different ways to look at it. I mean, I've always worked for companies that had smaller budgets when it came to influencers. So you could either do, one big thing, or you can break it out and do a lot of little things. And I'm a big fan of the little things because, you generally get people who are a little bit more passionate about your product, taking that small budget, and they're willing to create great content with you and be partners with you in the long run and do more, let you utilize that content. So I think what I do is kind of a mixture of all the things you talk about. We do work with an agency. We work with Aspire to run our campaigns, but it's all self-serve. Stuff is small. I am the one doing all the sourcing and hiring and content kind of agreements and briefs. And so I like to be a little bit more hands-on with whomever we pick, making sure that they, are fit for what we're looking for, what we want, what we represent as a brand. And they're going to help us kind of drive that brand awareness through education of what our product is, right? It's a chocolate filled marshmallow. It's hard to understand. So getting people to show other folks that is great. But yeah, we work the agency, put out briefs, let people apply. I vet the folks through there. But then I also kind of watch the feeds, watch who's doing what, or kind of think like, I want to do a recipe, but I want it to be a little bit more obscure or something like a little fun. And I'll go directly to influencers, right? And just drop into their DMs and say like, hey, you want to work together? Or sometimes people who are doing things with marshmallows that aren't ours, I'll write them and say like, hey, would you be willing to try ours? I'm going to send it to you. A mixture of the in-kind, paid, and just sometimes, just sending product is really helpful too in getting more people to be aware of you. And so I think that finding the right people for your brand is very personal and different for every brand, but that's what works for us, kind of just having people apply, looking at them, and then sourcing on our own.
Right. So when it comes to some of those,
okay.
All right, I'll start. So when it comes to those influencers who might be expecting you to spend a little bit more with them, the ones that you source through an agency, or maybe the ones that you partner with that just have a really high, I saw you did a partnership with Marshmallow. So are those folks bringing you essentially a media kit that you're looking through and kind of sourcing what sort of product, kind of partnership you want to work on? Or are you coming to them with an idea and then they're coming back with a price and you're just sort of going along with it?
Yeah, so I think, partnerships like Mellow, like that's a totally different thing there. That's something that we kind of started working at the beginning, and that's just a whole different realm. But in general, when folks send us our media kits, we evaluate them on not just, okay, you come back with a price, whether it's, high, low, whatever. We're not going to say like, oh, you have a million followers. Sure, we're going to pay you, $45,000 for a post. No, it's not based on followers alone at all. I think we look at your authenticity of your followers, how loyal they are to you, how much engagement they are having with your posts. But the most important thing, I think, is the quality of your content. What are you creating? Is it authentic to you? What you're posting? Are you just doing a lot of pose and posts where you're like posing with a product and taking pictures or doing unboxings? Is that relatable to people? Are the people that are following you to see what you're wearing, or are they genuinely interested in your life and the things that make your life easier? There's a lot of vetting that kind of goes into it in that way, and it's not strictly based on fan number, cost. So I think it takes time, but it's important to find those right folks when you get them coming to you, and not just saying, yeah, you have a lot of people, we're going to take you, because that's going to mean a lot. It doesn't always.
Yeah, I think we had an amazing keynote session by Shingy at multiple DS or Digital Summit events this year. And his big overarching message, which I think really ties into exactly what you're talking about, is that tone of authenticity when it comes to all of your marketing, like social media in particular, because people expect it on social media.
Yeah.
But with your email marketing, with your websites, everything needs to feel authentic to you and your brand. And then the partners need to feel like these people actually would use your product. It's not something that feels
Yes.
really forced. And
Yep.
I think that's it. It's really, really interesting to see the shift in marketing. And, and as we move away or we move into like the cookieless internet and we're not tracking data as much, it's really going to be about those authentic experiences and making people feel something. And I definitely, as I was looking through your social media feed, I loved the couple that lives in the van that has the that is
They're
traveling and
great.
wants and still
Yep.
can make these amazing delicious dessert concoctions with the marshmallows. So it was just really interesting to see that in such an authentic placement. And then the one that you did with like the camping inside the house with the kids, I thought that was super super cute. And it
Yeah.
reaches that audience of like, who's really going to be my marshmallows is like families, because it's a great like family love experience. So when it comes to just UGC in general, um, when it comes to the results on your end, what are you prioritizing when it comes to evaluating those partnerships after the fact, whether you want to move forward with those folks again or something or another partner that's like them?
Yeah. I mean, I think we do work with some people again, but we find that if you work with the same people over and over again, it's going to lose that. This is a word I say a lot, and it's probably like it should become like a little game.
Mm,
Authenticity. It loses the
yeah.
authenticity if you are constantly working with the same people over and over again, because then it feels like a sales pitch, right? So I think it's we want to see people engaging with the content. We want to see, a lot of views. Shares, I think, are very important to me.
Mhm.
Not shares. Saves. Saves are very important because to me,
Okay.
when I save something, that means I want to go back to it later. There's something in that made me want to remember it. Do I always go back to everything that I've saved? No, not necessarily, but a lot of the times I am. So you want to see that, and then I'd like to see follower growth on our accounts too.
Okay.
Follower growth to me is bringing new people into the brand. Our brand awareness campaigns are working. We're getting more and more people wanting to try us, wanting to find us. Um, and then I think engagement, right? Wanting to see those views, see the clicks, see comments, all of those sorts of things. Those to me are the top. I think likes are great, but really having people who are commenting saying, "Oh my gosh, those are the most amazing marshmallows. I need to go buy them right now," or sharing it in a story. Those sorts of things are more meaningful.
Are you going to the level of when those new followers are coming in, you're looking at those follower types and if they're fitting your ideal customer profile, or is it just kind of the excitement of having the brand awareness go out to those levels? Like, how deep do you go into that piece of it?
Yeah, I mean, again, like a team of one, it's hard to dive too
Yeah,
deep into it, but
I know that feeling.
we definitely keep we keep our eyes on who's coming in and making sure, like, okay, if we are getting, you know, folks that are in the motocross industry, like, what are we doing? Why is that? While we want them to buy marshmallows, marshmallows are for everyone. Is
Mhm.
that what kind of content are we creating that's drawing them to us, and what are we doing, and what kind of content can we create that would draw more campers or hikers or parents or that sort of thing. But I think we're looking at them really just on a top level basis to make sure that they are real people and are going to be interested in what we're posting.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yep.
Are there any other brands that you look up to in the space that are doing a really great job with partnerships or kind of things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really like brands that tug at my heartstrings and
Mhm.
post things that make me feel and make my thumb stop the scroll. So anybody that's doing things with like animals or cute kids, I like a lot. Obviously, kids are a touchy subject with social media, but I think that Chewy is tugging at the heartstrings because they like really
Mm.
are kind of promoting their brand in again that authentic and relatable way that you see a cute dog or a cat or somebody you know um unboxing with their pet. That's really makes you feel, and then makes you have a positive emotion towards their brand, and is bringing you into that funnel, right? That slow burn, like that's something that I like a lot. I think GoPro does a great job too, with showing their what their product can do through the eyes of their consumer, and it's not all, fancy videos that they create. So things like that are just thumb stopping really, really inspire me.
I love that. Yeah, Chewy's one of my favorites as well. And I think they've inspired a lot of like local pet shelters and stuff to start doing more interactions with actual pets themselves. There's, the shelter workers will do voiceovers for the animals as like an intro for like a dating profile and stuff like there's just a lot
So
of these
cute.
really cool ideas that, like you said, make you feel something. Going back to
Mm-hmm.
the keynote from Shingy's, like that's what brands are going to stand out. I think you're doing an amazing job of that. I can't wait to see your session down in Orlando. Anybody who is not registered yet, you can get registered. Our early bird prices are going to expire on February 9th. So now is the time to do it. Kate, we're so excited to have you back down there with us at Digital Summit this year. And your session is going to be amazing. People are going to have so many great takeaways for their own influencer campaigns. And thank you so much for taking time with me today. It's been great.
Thanks so much, Danielle. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in Orlando.
Sounds good.